the WDCs.
Participants were given an opportunity to ask follow-up questions from what the facilitator had presented during the sensitization.
The bigger percentage of that resources should go back to the community as compared to giving them back a very minimal percentage, 30%.
It's not the community that is mobilizing the resources. The only institution at the district level that is given the mandate to tax, to collect whatever revenue is the council. You know that, eh? In the whole forest districts, government has given certain powers to the council to levy. You know that, eh? Even here, if there is a market, it's not the community that's supposed to levy, it's the council.
Mambo vivendo kuia vya kutwesha twesha makito vya vura kimo kimetwa msara wa muntu mino wikara monka muno kwendwa msara naye wangomba kukwa yoga bareta karaba saukare tangana vikapu kwe mama mvu hapo kamba bareta karabu kwe vya maini ngana vikamba ine amo ine na ne bireka na ya kukananga kengitirenga kono wa muntu pokufuma po nishe tukasazira po muntu mukwabo nyenye kigerera byepi.
The question is in the first place, we want people who are staying here, according to the qualifications, we want people who are staying within Kaleni. People who are willing to work for the community. These people are not going to be paid anything. They will just be like the councillor. The councillor is a volunteer. So even these people we are going to elect are volunteers. We are not here to force anyone to stand. No, not even parents have the right to force their children to stand. This should come from the heart of someone who wants to work for the people. Yes. In case you don't know how to read, but you know the name, you say, where is this name? The one who will be helping you will tell you, this person is here, and they will help you. So those who are standing, you are also going to vote. Yes, you start with your own.
Wakwamba kana wafika ku grade 9 ngiye kwamba bana bakaisha kafwako bafika mu cyo kipimo nyine baba rumwe bomkake kwanda watu watitira nini.
If somebody wants to start
you mentioned that you would like to see women participating. Now the question is, what if the women, there is no one who reached grade 9? Can't men who reached grade 9 take the position?
I think what we are trying to say, we did not say only women, no. We said men and women, as long as they meet the qualification. But there will be a situation where there are no men who are willing to stand or they don't qualify. Only females qualify. So they will take the position.
The officers were on hand to respond to the concerns raised by the community members during the session. It is important to note that the answers are provided with due respect of the participants who asked the questions so as to avoid animosity and to avoid discouraging them. Step 7. Registration of voters. All members of the polling district who qualify to cast a vote will register as voters. Step 8. Nominations of candidates. This is done after community sensitization and registration of voters. The council then proceeds by commencing the voter registration exercise of eligible candidates who had met the requirements set forth in the guidelines. Aspiring candidates are advised to campaign to individual potential voters as opposed to holding rallies.
Not the type of campaign where you gather people like this and then you start slogans, singing and dancing. This campaign will be door to door.
Wanaayeka chi campaign ya kuwa waita bantu yonka wewe mwabungana kewa memba pamaka ine ayo campaign ya mkiberu mwe mkiberu kaya mkiberu jikwa wewe campaign.
So you won't be allowed to gather people, but where they are seated, you can meet them and market yourself so that they vote for you and you belong to this committee.
Community members were urged to elect representatives who would work with the councils in bringing about development to the wards.
Decentralisation, we said, this work is only for people who are ready to work for others. If you are not interested in working for others, please don't come up to be elected. You are there, all of you are there to help your councillor. So that as he goes in the council, he goes with refined ideas that are coming from the people. You are there, you'll be created to assist the councillor of your ward, in your various zones where you are coming from. And that's the difference with the councillor. You are elected from a certain area. He who is elected for the whole ward. You are there to assist him. Come up with issues from the people that you take as a politician in the council to debate with the other councillors from other wards.
The response from the community members was overwhelming, as demonstrated by the number of voters who registered for voting for the WDCs. Step 9. Election of zonal representatives. At this stage, community members are electing representatives from the various districts who will constitute the WDC. Ample time was given to the community members to consider the names of nominated candidates who would contest for the zonal elections before casting the votes. It is important to give ample time to the community members to scrutinize the names on the ballot papers. In Mumena Ward, returning officers who were stationed in various wards publicly announced the opening of the polls for the community to vote for their preferred candidates nominated to contest the zonal elections. At exactly 16 hours, the returning officers announced the closure of the voting period to allow the council to proceed with the counting of votes casted. After totaling the votes cast in the respective polling districts, the returning officers announced the winning candidates for each polling district.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Mama, next time, Mama, please don't stop standing. Yeah.
The results are rigged according to Form 5 of the regulations. I, Love Jacob, being the returning officer for Muyashi Zone, do hereby declare that I have ascertained with the law the results of the election in Muyashi Zone, and that they have been given to Rogers Shindano, F 24 votes, Joseph Chandamali 25 votes, and Harrison Nyami 27 votes. I further declare that a total of 2 ballot papers have been rejected as invalid. Further, I declare that a total of new ballot papers have been disputed. I therefore declare that the said Harrison Nyambi, Joseph Chandamali, and Rogers Chindam to be this day duly elected as a representatives of Muyashi Zone for Mateo Ward, dated this 9th day of December 2014. Signed by me. Thank you.
After polling district elections and appointment of ex-officials, the WDC is now duly established or constituted. The elected WDC members are to hold office for tenure of 5 years from the time they were elected to sit in the WDCs. However, the community was cautioned that failure by members to submit reports or abscond from meetings by such members would result into sanctions. A code of conduct is to be adhered to by elected WDC members so as to avoid the consequences of absconding meetings. Step 10. Appointment of ex-officials. The town clerk or council secretary writes to the various organizations as indicated in the guidelines for them to nominate members to serve as ex-officials. It is very important to note that once names are submitted to the council by the various organizations, the council then formally appoints by the latter the ex-officials as chosen by the organizations. These ex-officials should be residing in the wards. Although councillors are part of the WDCs, they cannot hold executive positions. In Muyanshi Zone, no elections were conducted as the nominated candidates went unopposed. This was a special case.
To the general public that we won't conduct the elections because we only have 3 candidates that we needed for this polling station. So that means that the 3 are unopposed.
Thank you, madam.
Their names. And the names for the 3 are Thomas Mutondo, Fitness Mujilo, and Webson Njangi. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Step 11. Orientation of WDC members. The orientation workshop was aimed at briefing elected members on the key roles they are expected to be performed by the Ward Development Committee and the Ward Development Executive Committees.
The Ward Development Committee is a bigger body. Under it is what is called the Ward Executive Committee, which we are going to elect today here. Among the members that were elected earlier on, we are going to choose the other members who will be in the Executive Committee. For the Ward Development Committee to also work well, there is also a provision for subcommittees that are supposed to help the Ward Development Committee look at certain specific issues, like issues of infrastructure, issues of planning. So there will be subcommittees also that will be created within the membership, so that those can advise the Executive Committee on certain specific issues that they will be handling.
Facilitators explained the composition of the WDCs and the tenure for the WDC members once elected into office.
The tenure of office for Ward Development Committee members, and basically it's supposed to be that after election, when we have elected the Ward Development Committee members, we're supposed to have elections 2 months after the general election. Understand what I mean? Okay. Meaning that the idea, you were supposed next year after general elections, 2 months after, you're supposed to have your another elections for Ward Development Committee members.
The aims and functions of the Ward Development Committees were highlighted during the orientation workshop so as to enlighten the members on their expected roles. Furthermore, the members were informed on how to conduct a WDC by-election in an event of death or resignation by a WDC member. Further, it was made clear during the briefing that the Council has powers to dissolve the Ward Development Committee and Ward Development Executive Committee should the committees be found wanting.
Provided a facet in this manual, if a Ward Development Committee fails to perform according to the functions that have been given to them, you will be dissolved. You can even be dissolved within 1 week if you are not performing. So you need to perform. We don't want a situation where you have structures that are not working. We are wasting time. Government is wasting time. You have been created to work.
Practical steps to follow when producing a Ward Development Executive Committee's report and how to submit it to the local authority were also explained.
We also conduct quarterly meetings. It's a function of the Ward Development Committee to conduct quarterly meetings. And when necessary, submit reports to the council. So what we are going to do as Ward Development Committee, we conduct quarterly meetings. Right? When you mean quarterly meetings, how many meetings in a... If you're conducting quarterly meetings, 4 meetings in a night. It means every 3 months we conduct a meeting, right? We discuss. You will be given information more on how the meetings are structured, right? But you conduct meetings every after 3 months. What are you call quarterly meetings. And what do you do with the reports? Once you have a meeting, you don't keep the report there, isn't it? Other people should know what you have discussed and what you have done. The reports will be taken to the Council Planning Department and eventually will reach everyone there. Other reports will be going through the Honorable Council, isn't it? The channel also will be given to you. So we'll conduct meetings quarterly.
Step 12. Election of Ward Development Executive Committee members. This step comes after orientation of WDC executive members. Roles and responsibilities of WDC Executive Committee members were clearly spelled out during the orientation workshop. The chairperson is chosen during this process. Further, the roles of the ex-officials who are also part of the WDC Executive Committee were also explained.
Official is simply a member of a committee with an advisory role, but has no voting rights. Understand that?